Okay, now we're going to talk about something called event bubbling. And you might have heard about this before. Okay. And just so you know, it's the default behavior of all event listeners. So it's meant to work this way. Now, when you see it in action, you might be like, that's kind of weird. I don't want it to work that way. But there's a reason it's the default. Okay. Now, what it is that when an event happens on an element, it first runs the handlers on that element, right? If it has more than one, it'll run both of them. Then it'll go to that element's parent and runs all the same event handlers on that. If it's type click, it's going to run all the type clicks on that element, then on its parent, then on its grandparent, all the way to the window object even. Okay. Now, let's see how that works in action. Okay, so we have the same thing. I added a section parent, right? And I added an on click to the body as well. It says hello from body. On click on section, hello from section. Everything else stays the same. Okay. And if you look on the right in the CSS, I just added a border for the section. Okay. All right, so let's look at here. Pay attention to the console. If I click this red thing, hello from red, that's the red thing. But it also says hello from section and hello from body. What's going on? Well, that's event bubbling. We click this one, it runs this event, then it goes to the parent of each one, that's section. It's checking, hey, is there another on click on you? Yes, there is. It runs that. Then it goes to its parent, the body. And it says, hey, there is an on click on you too. So I'm going to run that. That's why these appear in that order. Now, you don't see the blue one, right? Because event bubbling does not mean that it runs events on its siblings or brothers or sisters, right? It only goes up the chain. So it runs it on itself, on its parent, on its grandparent, and so on. And just so you know, we can even do, let's see, we can do window.add event listener, click function, and let's just have it console.log window. Now, if we click on this, window is the last one to run, right? Because technically window is the parent of the body element. We just don't see it. All right, now we're going to talk about event capturing. Event capturing is basically the opposite of event bubbling. So once again, let's click on this blue one. Right now it's doing event bubbling. It goes from the blue one, from this one, to the section, to the body, and finally to the window. Now, to change it to event capturing, I'm going to go to the window object, right? And right now, the third argument is false. False means it's doing event bubbling. That's the default, so you don't even need to put false. If we want to change it to event capturing, we put it to true. Now, I'm still going to click on this blue line, see what happens. Now, you see how the window goes first now? What happened? Well, we clicked on the blue, right here, right? It sees that it has an event listener. And then it checks all the way up to it hits window. But then it sees that its parent, the window, is doing event capturing because it has a true right here. And when it has a true, the outermost, in this case, the window, will go first, right? And then it does its own event bubbling because everything else is false, right? So it does the window, then it does itself, then the section, then the body. Now, let's change this one to also true. Is that going to change anything? Let's click on it. Nope, it still doesn't change anything. Why? Because window is the outermost one, so it goes first, and then this one's going to go anyways. Okay. Instead of that, I'm going to change the body one from an on click to an add event listener and see what happens. So I can do body dot add event listener. Let's do document dot body dot add event listener click function console.log body and have this as true. Okay, now I'm still going to click on the blue one and see what happens. Now you see how window goes first and then body. Okay. So what event listeners do, whatever element that you click on, let's say the blue one or the red one, it will actually check all event listeners on that element and all of its parents and grandparents elements. Then it's going to check if any of those grandparents have event capturing set to true. If any of those have event capturing set to true, then it will put those first, starting with the outermost parent, which is window, then body. Then it's going to do event bubbling from the start. Okay, so it goes in a cycle. Okay, enough of that. Let's try some real examples where we put this into motion. And just so you know, in real life, 99.9% chance you're never going to use event capturing. The only time we use event capturing is if an event does not bubble. And I think there's only one event that does not bubble, and that's the focus event. Focus means like if you click on a text button, so if I click on body, I'm like focusing it, and I'm like focusing this one. So that's the only listener that does not bubble. Everything else bubbles. Okay. And you will never, ever, ever really have to change anything to true. Okay. Because if you have to do that, there's probably a better way. I just wanted to show you guys what event capturing looks like. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to building something that has to do with event listeners and managing the DOM itself.